You don't.
There is no balance. If I'm being successful in my business, I'm definitely messing up somewhere else or not giving 150%, but that's okay. And it's like in the masculine energy, you feel like you have to be perfect in every single realm. So you drive yourself crazy to just get to like perfection.
And you push everyone else
To the side.
Yep.
So it's like, it's okay to understand that there is no balance. If you can't, no human can run a business, be a mom or a dad, also be a partner, maintain friends, and do everything at 100% capacity. That's just not possible. I mean, if you can do it, let me know like what you're doing. But I know
lead the way, please.
Yeah. So I know it's
since
not
all these
possible.
Single men got advice. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. It's true. So I feel like it's just not possible, and you have to be real with yourself at some point that some days you're going to be giving one of those 4 options 100%, and the other ones are not getting 100%.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rich in Real Life. I'm your host, Jessica Hurley, and I am here with yet another incredible guest. Another one and another one and another one, because I am so blessed to be surrounded with incredible creators, business owners, entrepreneurs, go-getters, people that do not give up, people that practice resilience on the regular, that persevere, that do incredible things and don't take no for an answer. And this one is no short of any of those things. She is a powerhouse. She is a friend. She is an incredible mom, creator, business owner, and she definitely don't take no shit, that's for sure. So I'm so excited to introduce the founder of Prime Cash Offers, an incredible real estate investor, and a woman that I truly admire in the way that she stands and every bit of who she is. And so let's welcome to Rich in Real Life, Ashley Molina.
Thank you so much for having me. And that was like a great intro. I didn't even know how to receive that.
I love that you said that, because I wanted to be like, receive it.
I know.
Just receive it.
I was like, wow, like that sounded so beautiful. I didn't know who you were talking about. And I was like, oh, she's talking about me.
This is indeed about you.
Yes, but it was nice to hear. And I had to put my masculine down and just receive and listen to what was being said. So thank you for the introduction.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad you said that. That just jumps us head off the cliff right into every bit of who you are. And I said this about you being okay with who you are. And this is one of the things I love about you is I've spent a year and a half deep diving into acknowledging and realizing that there are parts of me that are where I can stand incredibly in my feminine, but it's very easy for me to get away from because surviving business can make you very masculine. And I've always said that I feel like there's a time in our lives where we become wildly successful, and then we take a step back and we assess or celebrate how far we've come. And we take this assessment or this audit and have this moment where we go, okay, my feelings, my emotions, and anything that people would call these days feminine served me none. The sharing of my emotions, the soft side of me, the constantly explaining myself, it did not serve me. Those things did not get me here. And so we kind of like take a step back and go, okay, is this even useful for me anymore? And we become less and less and less. And the performer in us and the achiever in us and the assertiveness and the independence and all the things. And so now I've spent a year kind of like unraveling that, and almost started to feel like it was wrong. It was bad. It was hurting me. And there were times where it was. But then there's meeting you. And what I love about this, and you are in the practice of unbecoming as well, but what I love about you is you don't look down on this. You're very proud of this, and you love this side of you, and you know it's what is so powerful about you, and you wear it as a strength. And I appreciate that so much, because it makes me become proud again about being a strong, incredibly strong woman. And so I want to start with, where the hell did you get this from? And do you ever put it down?
So I think that for me, I got it from my upbringing. Mm-hmm. So my mom, she was a single mom with me and my brother at the time, and she had my brother when she was 14 years old, and she had me at 16. And we're from New
14 and
York.
16.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So at that point, I mean, at 16 years old, she's raising 2 kids, working 2 jobs, trying to make a living and trying to figure it out for us. And I think that growing up, one thing that, which I was speaking with a friend the other day about, was emotional connection. She wasn't worried about that.
Mm-mm.
She was just training a survivor. She was like, listen, this is how you're going to go outside and this is what you do. Hugs and kisses, you're not going to survive the world with hugs and kisses. And you don't need emotion. Somebody else can give you that. And I feel like verbally she didn't say that, but her actions showed that and did that. So as I became, you know, a teenager and a woman, I was like, okay, well, I'm out here trying to survive. And how do I do this? And the best way that I know is just being unemotional and just being in my masculine all day. And I think that my mom unintentionally was in her masculine because she was forced to. And then in her mind, she's like, hey, like, I'm going to train you to just be a good woman and you have to be independent and you can't depend on a man and you can't depend on anyone but you. And you are your own toolbox and you use your tools to survive in this world.
Right.
And because of that, when I entered the world, I was like, okay, well, like now I have to survive. Like, how do I do this? And I just knew, like, do everything your mom did times 10.
Yeah. That's what worked. That's how she survived.
That's how she survived with 2 kids in New York, in the hood. And we were just like, all right, well, this is how we're going to do it. And I watched her every single day. There was never like, there's no food, there's a struggle, because she was like, no, we're not going to struggle. Struggle is if only you have no option or a solution. Like, you're going to come up with a solution.
And so, you are definitely a problem solver.
Yeah. So now for me, it's like, it's tough because now you grow up in that way, and it's good because it's a tool that I have. And like, you're unraveling, trying to get back to your feminine.
Yeah.
I'm unraveling to find my feminine. Right. Because I'm like, how do I get there when all I know is survival? All I know is masculine energy. All I know is go out to the world and solve problems.
Yeah.
With that comes the feminine energy, which is like flow and listening and just being. And I don't know how to naturally do that because what I naturally know how to do is just fix. And when you have people around you that sometimes, even being like in a group of women, they just want people to listen and they're in their feminine. And I'm just like, okay, like, how do I do this? Like, how do I listen? Right? Because I'm like, oh shit, you have a problem.
You got people rolling their eyes at you right now as you speak about listening.
I'm like, how do I just sit here and listen without coming up with a solution and giving you that solution and telling you, like, listen.
Oh, you have a problem. This is an easy fix.
This is an easy fix. Go. My brain is just trained to fix.
Yeah.
And the masculine energy, it doesn't mean that. For so long, people confuse like feminine and masculine, like, oh, you're a man or you're a woman. No, that has nothing to do with it. You can meet a man with a lot of feminine energy and they're a man still. Yeah. They're more of a man than a man with masculine energy.
Correct. Right.
So it's just like, it doesn't define your sexuality or who you are as a person. It just defines how you solve life problems. Some person will sit there, meditate, and sit in their flow while someone else has an entire whiteboard on like, this is how we're going to get to the problem. Yeah. And those are just 2 different ways of handling energies in the world and like how everything just works.
Yeah. I'm going to bring some formal insight into this because I just think we've talked about this on this podcast so much. But like, this was just the most simple breakdown I've heard. And I just want to give this to everyone while Ashley's talking about this. Is like, I saw this post the other day and I wanted to share it with you guys of just normal feminine traits of being, stillness, surrender, intuitive. We know what the word surrender means because we've hung on to it near and dear. Surrender, intuitive, reflective, grounded. I know how much work I've had to do to get grounded at times. Like, I've had to force myself into that. Creative, receptive, emotional. And that being in your feminine is the need to feel connected, valued, appreciated, and nurtured. Whereas when we're in the masculine, ladies, listen really carefully because we all know when we feel this way. Ashley lives in this space. Your masculine is doing, action, responsibility, logical, focused, competitive, disciplined, assertive, and analytical. And it is the need to feel successful, purposeful, supported, and focused. And I just wanted to outline that because I thought that was such a clean cut outline of the femininity and the masculinity that we all possess typically very unbalanced depending on who you are and the way in which you were raised. And so what we're talking about right now, and it's such a hot topic in society, is like men can't date masculine women and women that are leaders and can take care of things, and it gets in the way and you're not submissive enough and all these things. But you're a partner and a mom, and you are a leader in a business. How do you balance this? Or when did you realize it was a problem? Or is it a problem?
Yeah, so I think 100% it is a problem. And the other day I saw an interview. It was I forgot her name, but they asked her the same question, like, how do you balance this? And it's like, no one speaks the truth. Like, you don't. There is no balance. If I'm being successful in my business, I'm definitely messing up somewhere else or not giving 150%, but that's okay. And it's like in the masculine energy, you feel like you have to be perfect in every single realm. So you drive yourself crazy to just get to like perfection.
And you push everyone else
to the side.
Yep.
So it's like, it's okay to understand that there is no balance. If you can't, no human can run a business, be a mom or a dad, also be a partner, maintain friends, and do everything at 100% capacity. That's just not possible. I mean, if you can do it, let me know like what you're doing. But I know
lead the way, please.
Yeah. So I know it's
since
not
all these
possible.
single men got advice. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. It's true. So I feel like it's just not possible, and you have to be real with yourself at some point that some days you're going to be giving one of those 4 options 100%, and the other ones are not getting 100%. And then some days the one of those will get, like your son will get more attention on a Thursday because you plan that out. So the business is not getting all the attention. And that's just the balance that you're going to do. On Mondays, you're giving the business 150%, and on Tuesdays, you're not, because you're just one person trying to balance everything out. But the balance is everything is not having 100% every single day. And that's the reality of it.
I love that you brought this up, because I saw you are such a fixer and such a planner. And so you are such a planner. And we'll get into that personality type in a minute. But I was watching this podcast the other day, and the guy spoke about, they asked him about being divorced and then how's that working? And he brought up the coolest concept, and I can speak to this from the co-parenting aspect, and then you adopted it in your relationship. And I love this. You're planning ass. He talked about being divorced and how like no one actually talks about the fact that in co-parenting, he found the most sanity, and not in being separated from his partner, but that like, you know, her getting the kids Monday and Tuesday, and him getting the kid Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the other week they flip it. And then now he knows that he gets a Monday and a Tuesday off, and he can plan his sanity and his off time, or doing the things that he really needs to focus on. And then he knows when he gets the child that he gets to really, like, that's his time around the child, and he can focus his most important work tasks around the days he does not have the child. And then he can adjust his schedule when he does have the child, and vice versa. And they can plan their months that way. And he was like, I actually wish we would have adopted that in a relationship. That like, even though we're in a household together, why do we have to not share the responsibilities, but you get him more some days than I do. This is my day. And you get him more some days, and this is your day. And so as someone who's co-parenting, I absolutely see the sanity in this, because when I was a full-time parent, I never got away from my son. Never. Unless I was going on a planned vacation. I never got away from my son. Ever. Because he's clinging to me. He's running around. He's chasing me the whole time. Whereas now that I co-parent, it's not my favorite thing in the world for sure to have to share. But I have certain days where I'm like, oh, I can plan for sanity. I can plan for breaks. And that balance is something people don't talk about. And you've adopted this in your relationship, correct?
Yes. So like for me, it's like at one point, like me and my partner, we have 2 kids, which is our 5-year-old. That's my bonus son. And then my son, who's about to be 2. So just adopting a schedule, it was very important. Like I had a schedule for me as an individual when I started my business and I did everything. But like now you
schedule the schedule, Ashley.
Yeah, I schedule the schedule and the scheduler. So I'm like, okay, like we have to make sure we're on track, right? So going into partnership with someone else, it's like, okay, like, well, now how do we mesh these schedules together? And the important thing for me was I'm a first-time mom. So like I'm adopting into understanding what it is to have time for my son, for the business, for X, Y, and Z. So, and even for my partner. So one thing that we adopted in our relationship was like, all right, well, this is our schedule. On Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, it's your late night. And on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays is mine. That means that whoever has late night has to shower the kids and put them to bed and read. So it's 50-50. So I know a lot of people, like, that whole conversation is like, oh, men and women. And no, yes, whatever works in your household, great. In mine, I feel like it's 50-50 because at the end of the day, like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. That's not my goal. I don't want to like not work and just be given this luxury lifestyle. If I wanted that, I can go get that, but that's not what I chose.
Correct.
So because that's not what I chose, I want a partner who can come in and bring in 100% every single day, and I bring in 100%, and our 100% every day looks very different. It's like, okay, on your days, it means that your 100% is with the kids today and mine is with the business. And we'll just take turns every single day so that we can adopt these fundamentals into our family and our life and not get overwhelmed. And of course, it's not perfect. There's days that we're like, all right, call somebody else to come get these kids because we're
Neither
done.
one of us can do this right now. This is not working.
Yeah. So it's like, it gets overwhelming, but it's like, it's a start to at least have the foundation to follow. And that's the most important thing for me, is just to know that like, okay, we're working on this together, not because I'm the mom and I'm the woman. Everything just has to fall on my plate. Like, we all work. Everyone works here. We're all bringing in money to the house, and we're all doing this as a team, more than just like, well, you're the woman. You're supposed to take care of the kids. That's not how it works in our house. So that's just kind of like
my I spoke to someone who potentially wanted to start a show with us. Shout out to Insta Podcast. Wanted to start a show with us, and I was looking at his post, and he was like, I really want to break the stereotypes around, you know, married couples, submissive women. And he was like, my wife works from home with our 2 kids. And I'll be damned, she got a job. Like, and he was like, but I also don't believe in this like crazy submissive old style. Like, and it was so funny. He put up this post that was like, do you think if a woman is a stay-at-home mom, she should do a man's laundry, wash the dishes and do this? And then the next post he put up, he was like, me washing my own dishes. And it was like me folding my own clothes. And he was like, yes. And then it was like him at the table. He was like, me not dying. Like, yeah. And it was like, okay, so we hear all of this, but like, what if, and it's whatever works for everyone else. I understand that. It's what works for you and your family and your unit. I understand that. But I love talking with you because it's really breaking stereotypes, because there is this found fear in women now. I don't know about y'all, but I've had it. I know you don't. You would never. But of like, am I too masculine? Will a man ever want me? Will I run a man off? Will I intimidate a man because I'm not cooking, cleaning, and washing clothes, which I do for myself, but because I run a business, because I wear a very masculine energy at times, can I be in a partnership?
Yeah, and I think that's what I did struggle with that prior to my current relationship. I struggled with those type of relationships, but I think that one important thing for me was to understand is like, everything is communication, and besides communication, it's the scheduling. Like, it's important to schedule things. And why I say that is because if you're in a relationship and you have kids, and even if you didn't have kids, right? If you're not scheduling things, it's just not going to happen. If you're dating a man who has a business, who's a powerful man, and you're just a stay-at-home mom, that's not a schedule. You're just working off of his schedule.
Correct.
So now your life is ran by when he can breathe, eat, or shit. And that's like, it's the truth. I'm like, it's okay. If that's the life you chose, that's cool.
Absolutely.
And no one's judging that.
No.
Like, that's okay. I give it to stay-at-home moms because I could never. I did that for like 2 or 3 days, and I was like,
never.
I could not do this.
Y'all a different type of angel.
Yeah, they are. And then I think that no one, like, that's a job, and it's a very, very hard job to do every single day, to wake up and attend to these kids because they are out here wilding out. Yeah. So I give it to them.
Trying your whole life.
Yes. So I think that that's a powerful thing that women do. And I don't think that should be taken away from them. But if that's something that a woman does or women do, it doesn't take away from what they're doing, but you still have to follow someone else's schedule. It's a team. We're 2 people in here. No matter how we're a team, we have to follow each other's schedule. I need my days. You need your days. You get what I'm saying? And if you choose to work all day, great. I can hold you down today. And if I choose to work all day, I'll hold you down. That means you have to fold your laundry and wash your plates and be the meme. That's okay.
And be them.
That's
and
okay.
Be the meme. So let me ask you this. When did you know, spending all these years in survival mode, when did you know that this take that you were married to was becoming detrimental to you? AKA you knew you needed to find some flow or get back to a creative space, or you needed to like find your femininity. When did you know? Was there a moment where you were like, this version of me is a little bit detrimental to my soul?
Yeah, so I think that like one of the things that you said before was like a lot of people struggle with that. Like I may be too powerful or too this or too that or too masculine for a man. Not powerful, masculine, right? I think that when I was struggling with that, I completely was not even trying to focus on that thought anymore because I'm like, I'm just in my business. I'm trying to grow this. I'm trying to do this. But I think when it became detrimental is when I had my son. And now I have to raise a young man and I am with the father of my son and we're building a life together and we're raising our kids together and we're trying to build a business together. And it's like, okay, like at some point, it's not about submission to one person. It's about submission of two people. And at what point can I get to stop wearing this leadership hat and trying to solve everyone's problems when no one is asking for that? When do I get to just shut that down and go home and just be mom without trying to, okay, well, the kids need this and they need this. And it's just like, no, just be present and flow. If they want to throw the toys, be present. And I knew it was detrimental when I couldn't do that and feel comfortable because I just, in your masculine energy, you're always controlling something. And I think that was one of the hardest things.
Too.
Yeah, you're proving, you're controlling, you're just like, you're in being in control gives you the map of to where your destination is. So for me, I had to let go of that control. So I knew that it's like, okay, it's okay if we don't know the destination. Just be present with the moment. And whatever happens after that, we can figure it out as a unit, as a family, as a man and a woman. And the masculine energy works in business. But when you're with a man, it's cool. Like you're going to have to shut that shit down for a little bit. Because
good luck with that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, you know, I have an amazing partner and we go through things like every other human being, but I understand that my energy and what my energy can bring to the table, it can intimidate a lot of people, but I'm very blunt about it because I will never change who I am. And I'm very proud of the energy I bring to the table. But I do know that energy can tone down when I'm home and that's cool. Yeah. And it's a safe place to do that. It's not safe in my industry.
No,
it's not.
Not in real estate.
And not in real estate, not in where I was raised, how I was raised. So in my mind, it's like, this isn't safe to turn down any place or where. So now it's like, okay, now you're in a safe place. Your kids are safe. You have a safe partner. This is a safe home. You can turn the energy off because there's no solving or protecting or this is just flow. Let it flow and it'll work. So I had to learn that because without learning that, it was becoming detrimental to myself. It was just like something's off. Like I don't feel at peace because I just have to keep running at all times.
And you couldn't, you're running at all times and you couldn't literally numb. You can't and be present in anything. Y'all, this shit was so bad. This shit was so bad that we would play games with y'all. Cause like if there was a scale, like I feel like I'm like a 5, like I'm a 5.5, like 6. Ashley's like a 9.5.
10.
So probably 10.5 and 10's the end. So we would play games with y'all where we would be like, let's just not tell them where we're going. And like, I'm like, Ashley's gonna flip the shit. Like Ashley's gonna flip her shit if she don't know where we're going. Or you're going to try to find out based on clues that we've given you to figure out where we're going.
Yes.
And like being on a journey with you, watching us all as business owners learn the art of surrender was the most incredible thing because I always think back to this moment of we all went to Sedona together.
Yes. And
we walked into this home and we chose to allow this retreat to be run by a man and a woman, a couple. And as soon as we walked in, we got to doing us. We were like, where do we put our bags? Where do we go? What are we doing? What's next? Like, da-da-da. And that man looked at us and he was like, put your things down. Don't go to your room. Have a seat. This space is curated for you to take a load off. I got this. Y'all are not in control. And it was like, sit your ass down. And we were all like, okay. Like, and I just got to watch this space of all of us, like, it was like this like sinking moment in the chair. And it was like, and it was this internal fight of like, I feel kind of safe. And I feel like I can kind of be soft and selfish almost and receive. But then there was this other side of us that was like, I feel weak and I feel like a kid and I feel like I can't take care of myself in this moment. And if I don't control what's next, I may lose something, whether it be time, whether it be making everything perfect, whether it be making the best out of a moment. Like, it was like this kid, like I could feel the internal fight in all of us, like the internal battle of like, do I flow? Do I surrender? Or is me, I feel like a weak ass little girl. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Did you feel that way?
Yes. It was like the battle of like, sit down and eat your food. And I was like, no, like, what are we eating?
Yeah.
And
what
how
is for
did you
dinner?
make this?
Whose idea was this? And who made this choice? And how can I make it better? Like, it was the most beautiful art of all of us learning flow and knowing how bad I struggled and then watching how bad you struggled, of like just surrender and allowing and being. It was like, it was so incredible. And so I guess I want to ask of like that retreat in particular, what did you learn about the art of like flow and surrender and just like how this can contribute to the ever evolving life that you've created for yourself that makes it feel like you always have to be in control?
So I think like the most important thing for me in that retreat when we went to Sedona was, like you said, it was just surrendering. And I felt in that retreat, and I think that a lot of the women felt there, we were able to let go. Like I was able to just let go and stop. And I realized like it's okay to not control because things will just come. They just started coming without me having to control.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, I think like when you're in your masculine, you don't feel because there's no time to feel. So all day I don't get to sit down and just feel.
Yeah.
I'm just running and running and running and running and running. And the type of person I am, this is why like I can see. And if I meet somebody like me, I'm like, I get it because we're the same. Like I like competitiveness, right? Competitiveness.
Yeah.
I like if there's a challenge or 75 hard, I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that twice. Oh, you want me to do this? I'll do it with you.
You be doing a challenge every time I turn around. I'm like, Ashley, sit down.
Yes. And the point of this is like in my mind is like, it's just distracting me from feeling and being in the moment. And I think that a lot of people misconstrue. I'm still a woman. I still have feelings. I'm still
You're just avoiding them.
Yeah. I'm just avoiding them because at the end of the day, like I need to just solve the problems. I'm in survival mode at all times.
Yeah.
And I think in this retreat, what I learned was there's nothing to survive here. Ain't nobody hunting us down. We're chilling. We're in Arizona, in Sedona, somewhere in these mountains.
Yeah.
With a bunch of women who are just trying to meditate and do breath work with me. And I'm here
We're
like
actually okay. It's gonna be okay.
And I think one of the funny things when we were in Sedona was when I was doing my breath work and my face looked so angry. And it was just like, I'm here trying to control, like, am I doing this right? And then it was just like at one point I just stopped and I was like, who gives a shit if you're doing it wrong?
Nobody.
What's right or wrong? Like just breathe.
Just
Breathing
breathe.
is normal and there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Breath is process, bitch. Breathe. Like,
Yeah, and then at that point, I was able to just surrender. I was like, okay, like I'm surrendering to this process and this experience, and I'm just going to breathe, and I'm going to go with whatever is going to happen next, and whoever's going to call on my name and whatever they want to do, I'm just going to do it. And I think that was the first time in years, or in a long time, I would say in that retreat that I was able to really just give my entire self to someone else's process that wasn't my own.
So in business ownership, well, first I want to talk about the personality type that you have coined in my eyes that I explain people as such. And you and I are the same, but on a scale I am unmeasurable to your level. And it is the predictive index. Can you explain this a little bit?
Yeah, so predictive index is not like a personality test. It's more so like you could actually use when you take the test as like it's scoring you based on like how you perceive yourself to the world in the workplace and your behaviors. And this can be used in like court. So if like, let's say a company is firing you and you've taken predictive index, they can use this in the court of law and say like, hey, like this person, this is their behaviors. Like that's how
This is
deep
indeed
it
one of
goes.
the only ones that
Yeah,
can be done.
that can be done. Yes.
Correct.
So in predictive index, I'm a maverick. You're a maverick. Cheers to the Mavericks. So we're Mavericks.
Lean ship.
No, but Mavericks, what it is like we're very driven.
Yeah.
So like in our map, let's say like it's like just a straight line. And then the line is like, okay, over here is an A, and that's the way that you lead. Right.
Yeah.
So my A was like off the chart.
It was
like,
literally off the chart.
I can do this regardless of who's coming. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And that's how like my maverick
come or don't
works.
come by.
Yeah. So like we can be Mavericks, but everyone's scaled differently in that bracket.
Yep.
And then there was like the E, the emotional, like how you make decisions. Mine is like straight emotional. It's like, oh, this building is worth $1 million. Like, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I feel like it's a good deal. But somebody else will be like, no. I need to see reports. I need to see this. I'm just like, no, my gut. I got it. Here's $1 million. Let's do this. And it's just like, I'm just emotional about my decisions. So it's like Mavericks are very like, we don't care to see anything but results. We're just like, let's go very result driven, very like, we're going to get there regardless of how we're getting there.
Yeah.
And it just scales you on that level, like how you lead, how you make decisions and things like that. So I think it's pretty cool.
It's very you.
Yeah. And I've skilled all my friends, everyone in my family. I'm like, I understand your behavior now. Like, I get it.
And so it is such a great trait to have in business. It has got to be why you are where you are in business. It's a version of me I've had to become to get where I am in business, because there is, I hate to say it, but there's no place for feelings in business. However, I do have to find those and embrace that when I want to be creative, because I cannot be creative when I'm in that state. When I want to create, I have to get into a different place. I have to get emotional. I have to find myself again. But I realize when I'm so logic based in business, I get really lost and I can't get back to my creativity. It takes an insane amount of time to get back to my creativity. How do you come home to yourself? Like, what are some of the things that you do that you're like, okay, I'm too far gone?
Yeah. So I think that like, well, one, I guess a little brief background. I didn't know how to come home to myself before. So back in November of, we're in 2022. So 2021, I went to an event and Christina Aguilera.
Yep.
I was at an event for real estate, and most of these events are very masculine driven, maybe 3 or 4 females at most. That's even a lot counting. We were at a real estate event. I'm on the phone. Christina comes up to me and she's like, I don't even know who I was on the phone with. She was like, you have like such an aggression when you're on the phone. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just talking.
Being myself. This is me.
I was like, this is me. Like, you're not looking at yourself. You're just, so one thing led to another. We had like a dope conversation, and she started talking to me about someone that she was coaching with, which was Lumiwa, who changed my life, by the way.
Shout out to our resident expert, Lumiwa Woodruff.
So she spoke to me about Lumiwa and how she coached with her, and she was like, I was just like you. And I think it was the way that, because like people can get defensive if someone's like, oh, like you sound aggressive, you sound this. I've never get defensive with stuff like that. I'm like, okay, like that's who I am. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like till this day, I still don't want to change who I am. I just want to change the way that I enter rooms sometimes, and depending on the room. If it's a business room, I'm gonna be me. If it's at home, I can be really me without having to be a business person or this or that. So when I got introduced to Lumiwa, I started working with her, and like I signed up for her stuff and things like that. I saw that she was having a podcast come out. And it was you and her talking about something. And I know in the commercial was like, red flags feel like home. And I'm like, what are they talking about?
If they feel like home, why do they feel like home?
Yeah, so I was like, what are they talking about? Like, what red flags? So long story short, it was me. I'm the red flag.
Wasn't the man, it was me.
It was me. No, but long story short, like I listened to your podcast and I listened to that episode and I was like, wow, like it was just one by one just hitting. And I was like, oh my God, like this is something I've never heard.
Yeah.
And then I think Christina Aguilera did one with you shortly after.
Yeah.
I listened to hers and I'm like, okay. And then within all this happening, I started working with Lumiwa. And then I started following you and I see like you're having an event. I see that you're having an event, like a woman's event. And I see you
see on your face?
Yeah.
You're like woman's event, like whatever
this is
these women do.
Feminine energy. Because everyone's like dancing and crying in your YouTube video. And I was like, what the hell is going on in this party? Like, and then there was like not one Like, man, I was like, this is not like a business thing. So I'm like, and at this point, I'm soul searching. Like, I'm really trying to find like, who am I when I'm not Prime? Because Prime is just the business. And I didn't know how to not just be Prime. And I started wearing my company as my identity. And that's when I knew like there's an issue because I can't be happy without wearing this every single day. Like, I don't need like the company. I'm not the company. I'm Ashley and the company is the company. It's an extension of me, but it's not me. And when I realized that I was going through this identity crisis of like, who am I and why can't I feel or just turn this off? That's when I started going in the direction of like, all right, maybe these women know what they're doing. Let me just peek in there and see what this is about. So I bought a ticket and I ended up going to your event. And I think that going to your event, becoming a part of the mastermind, this is all this meditation and this breath work and all this stuff. All this shit. It really took me down a journey. So like your original question was like, how do I take myself back there now? Is using the tools that I learned within being in a community of strong women just like myself, but that know how to take themselves into the feminine energy.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like, just the other day, I was going through so much in the business and I've been going through so much like, okay, how do I balance this? How do I do this? And my head is spinning every day. And it was just a matter of like, I got home. I was like, I got to get home 20 minutes earlier tomorrow, fill up my tub, put on some incense, turn on the music and just meditate.
Yeah.
And it brought me back to flow. Like I was like, okay, cool. Then I went to the gym. I turned off my phone. I came up with a name of something me and you were working on. And I was like, flow, because I'm not in the business. And I think that as me and you are speaking, I'm realizing that that's the issue. When I'm in the business and so logical about everything, I have no time to be creative at all.
There's none. I can tell when I'm losing myself. And it's like, I'm the meanest. I'm the meanest to people when I am short on creativity.
Yeah.
Like when I am like, recording a show and then I have people coming over and then I have this and then I have that and then I have the work event and then I have sales calls all day and then I can tell after a certain amount of days and I'm like, I'm about to get real mean up in here for a minute because if I don't have my time alone to be creative, because I can only have those creative moments when I'm in flow, when I'm by the water, when I'm walking, when I'm taking a bath, when I am safe and I feel open. The only other time I'm creative is when I'm in like, and I'm going to say this and then explain, when I'm in love and not just with someone, but when I'm just in this like insane state of overflow. Like all these good things are happening and I feel like I'm like bursting with love. Like I can think up anything, but those are the only two states I'm creative in. When I am surviving my business, when I am surviving the fight, there is zero creativity. Yeah. I'm married to it. I am like, fix it, flip it, get out of it. Yeah. Like boom, boom, boom.
And that's how I feel
no space
like
for me.
The last the last 2 months, I saw myself going back into that zone. And I'm like, I am in survival right now because I'm in the real estate industry. Real estate is changing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I got to step back in and I have to pivot with whatever's happening. But
how do I do that with balance?
Exactly. And this time it was different because it was different when I caught it because it was like a good extension of time when I was wearing myself out. Because I was like, okay, there's a problem and I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. But I need to give myself grace and understand that I cannot figure it out on 100 every single day. So I had to step away and say like 4 weeks in, like, okay, like this is becoming out of control. Yeah. We can't do this every single day till 11 p.m. at night and just post this all over the wall and keep trying and trying and trying. It's not coming to me because I'm not in flow. I'm just so in logic and problem solving and leading. And I can't even give my brain the time to start mastering up anything that it needs to do to figure out any other things that I want to do in life. Yeah. Or just be happy. Because like you said, I become snappy and like snappy me is not nice. And I'm like, I'm just sitting here like, who's getting it next? Yeah, like no one call me. Like I don't want to talk. Like
I'm gonna cuss everybody out into performance.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and that's not the state that you want to be in, especially when you're running a business and you're leading and like your team is just looking up to you for energy. They're not only looking for you for like numbers and the business. Nobody buys into a business based on numbers. Yes. And especially when you're at our level, which is like, we're not Bill Gates. Like we're not Apple. No. We're trying to get there, But when you're in those stages, you're selling energy. You're not selling, come to my business, you'll make $1 million, because you're not.
I just want to make sure y'all heard that. We're selling energy.
No, we are. And it becomes this is where I understood, like, it is my responsibility every single day that no matter what happens, I can't bring my energy to the table for my team, because then that affects them. And that just shows them, like, hey, like, when you're going through stuff, bring your shit to the table. Like, no, this table is clean. We bring nothing but positive energy so we can figure it out together through flow. If you gotta cry, cool. I'm accepting of crying. I gotta cry too. And I'm very vulnerable with my team in the sense of, like, yo, like, listen, today's one of them days. Let's just try to figure it out together as a team, and whatever the case is. But in vulnerability comes unity. And I feel like that's where a lot of people running businesses forget. And I learned that through my meditation and just being real about obstacles. Because a lot of people, and especially the women on my team, they'll look at me and they think like I'm unbreakable. They're like, oh, this girl don't blink. Like she can go to the gym 7 days a week and do this and do these challenges. And it's like, yeah, that's what it looks like on paper. So it's your responsibility for anyone on your team for you to also say, like, it's doable. It comes with struggles. You just overcome the struggles. You take care of yourself, and then you go back to the map. You're going to fall off. But a lot of people don't give that conversation a thought, for women especially, and even just men in the team as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like the energy that you bring to the table is very important, not only on your team, but in your house, with your kids. It's very important.
I just did this episode with, shout out to Romy Safantes and Joshua Mundy. We talked about this in 2 different ways. The same exact concept is the journey of healing is not about an end goal. It is about surrendering to self without an outcome. And there will be times in a healing journey where you will be like, was this a waste of my time? Like, what am I doing? And you won't know that the work worked until you catch yourself handling the same things differently. Mm-hmm. That's when it shows up. It is not like the breath work, the meditate, you do the journaling, you do all the things, and you're like, okay, I feel happy immediately after. And then you're like, okay, but back to regular life, because I got to show up, I got to show out, I got to perform, I got to do all these things. And then you're like, okay, that shit was temporary. And then all of a sudden, in dealing with your partner, in dealing with your business, like in dealing with crazy, because we are susceptible to crazy shit happening in our businesses all the time. And then you're like, and then your team commends you for the way that you're handling something, or your partner is like, that's very different of you.
Yeah.
Or you catch yourself and you're like, oh, 6 months ago, I would have flipped the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, but this is different. This is different. And it's like, that's when you know the work has worked, is when your old behaviors don't show up.
And that's so powerful you say that, because I think I shout out to Romy. I was just talking to Romy about this the other day, and I was telling her, like, a situation that happened in my life. And I'm like, it's crazy that the old me would react so differently to that situation. But the person I am now, it's like you become more empathetic when you're being and you're in the feminine, because you're like, okay, I understand human behavior.
Yes.
I'm a human.
Yeah.
And I've done shit out of emotional reaction and things like that. And it's just like, so you understand that from a different perspective, where it becomes like, do you blame people for acting like people? Or do you look at yourself and say, well, where's my responsibility in this? And whatever my responsibility is, I take accountability for that. Your actions are yours, but I have responsibility in whatever I did.
Yes.
And I think that it's important to see that in, like, my journey, because before anything that would happen, I'm like, okay, I'm going to react. Now I'm like, I don't react. I just let things play out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what do I want out of this situation? What did I learn? And what did I do? And whether I'm leading my team, whether I'm in my partnership with my kids, I'm like, okay, like, what do I do next? And before, there was no thinking, just acting. There was no, let me see what I should do. It was just like, let's problem solve right now.
Right.
While we're doing it immediately. And that's it. But in that process, you're not taking anyone else into consideration. You're just thinking about solving a problem and about yourself, rather than being and thinking about the next person as well.
I just draw a complete blank, and I was going to talk about something. Shit. Hold on. What did you just say? Damn, you had me thinking about something. Yeah.
This could be paused, right? Like you.
Yeah,
cut
no,
this out?
they can cut this out. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
It, yeah, you are.
Really?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
Like, oh my heart.
I'm overly.
Both of you.
I'm overly impressed. Like I'm
Really?
like, yeah, like I almost like this. I'm like, fuck these little questions we have. Like we'll get into the.
I was like so nervous. My nails are about to break up.
No, you're doing
What
great.
you're talking about balancing masculine and feminine. That's like
Yeah.
I live that every day.
Yeah.
My wife is very like she's low-key a boss. Sorry.
No.
No, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah.
So embracing the balance. I love that we're talking about this because I feel like there's so many mentors and other folks that have told me that like you can.
Oh, we gotta start that again.
Hey, when that happens. Happens all the time.
All right.
Hoops just come right out.
You said, I love when you tell me that. That's what you said.
Yeah. I love that we're talking about this because I feel like in business ownership, we're told by so many mentors and entrepreneurs, like you are supposed to keep it, ain't nothing about keeping it a buck. Like you're supposed to keep it super executive, super high level, like not vulnerable, not truthful, not in our feelings, like that we open the door for our team to be the same. And like, while we may want to be vulnerable, then we open the door for our team to be vulnerable. And then now not only are you dealing with meeting deliverables, service-based business, output, calls, whatever it is that you're dealing with, but now then you have to deal with your team's personal stuff.
Yes. One thing, not to cut you off, but
Nope.
I think that I disagree with people when they say that
I do
because
too.
it's like, what level of business are we talking about?
Mm.
If the employees, and I don't even call my team employees, if your team members know you by first and last name and can speak to you every single day, you're not running a Fortune 500. So you should care about their feelings. When you are the CEO of Apple and no
Y'all hear
one
that?
has contact with you, that's cool. Come in and you don't have to. Melanie, how are you feeling today? You don't have to do that. But when you're not running a Fortune 500 company and you are starting a small business and you guys have to face each other every day, and me and you've spoken about this, proximity is power. It's power. So you are around me every single day while I'm trying to build this business. The last thing I need is your energy to be off.
Yeah.
And if your energy's off, the last thing I need is for you to feel like you have no space to speak about it or even go to anyone on our team to do that.
Come on.
And now for the Fortune 500 companies, they can run their companies how they want. But if no one ever read Nike Shoe Dog with Phil Knight,
Yes.
it's such a powerful story because everyone always has like
Everyone had a contribution.
Yeah, but everyone has a masculine viewpoint of like no emotions, no this, no that. And it's like, yeah, that's great and all. But do you know that the best companies in our world and country are the companies that actually care about mental health, care about your feelings and emotions, because you're not a machine, you're a human being. And if they didn't, and if you were a machine, then you can work as a robot. You're not a robot. So you have to come in every day and perform. When people have real life problems, us as entrepreneurs, we have to deal with our kids. And when they start talking, and mommy, you're not spending enough time with me. And then your partner and having to cater to that. And then also like coming home and like, who's going to cook? And are we going to order out? Are we going to do this? And sometimes there's so much life problems and bills, and people think entrepreneurship is just so beautiful that it's like, if you're dealing with that as the business owner, imagine what your team members who believe in your vision are dealing with as well, because they're bought into a vision, not the salary.
Talk about proximity is power. Take it to the next level. We're always talking about leadership, and the person in this seat, small business owner, like we're talking about ourselves, has to be a leader and has to be, like assertive and carry this weight and come off as a certain way. We don't ever talk about the fact that proximity is power. And if you do this right and you lead well and you're vulnerable and you're courageous in that, you'll actually end up with the opposite. You'll end up with team members that bring you the energy that you need. I look at my team sometimes, I'm like, y'all doing this for me today. Y'all putting me in a place where I need to be. Y'all bringing the positive energy to me.
Exactly.
Or like when I'm down and out, I'm like, hey, today ain't it. And they're like, what's wrong? What's going on? And then they want to like pour into me. I'm like, I've attracted that by being myself, being a version of myself that every guru and mentor told me not to be. The people that have been on my team a year plus, which is more than 5, always has me like, okay, this can't be that wrong, because my team feels like a family.
It does.
They literally feel like a family. And anytime, I actually don't ever have to be super masculine with them. I only have to do that when I hear deliverables being repeated and somebody's not meeting something. And I know it's just because like there's a gap or a lapse in like, you know, maybe a little bit of leniency or somebody's going through something personal and maybe it just needs to be mentioned a couple more times and maybe I need to assert myself a little bit. But rarely do I actually feel like the softest version of myself when I'm leading my team.
Yeah.
Which was the opposite of what I was taught.
Yeah.
Which really surprised me, but I love it.
Yeah. And that's how I feel about same thing in my business and just in general. I feel like we're taught that because it's so the industry, not even my industry, just in general, running and owning business and doing that, majority of it is men. And that's okay. Like there's nothing to knock men, but when you're doing these things, it's just in their mind is like no emotion. That's great. Yes, when you're making a decision on the business, there should be no emotion.
Right.
But when you're speaking to somebody in your business, it's okay to let them have emotion.
Yes.
You don't have to be emotional and start crying, but you can let the other person have emotion because we are humans and we have emotions.
Right.
And I think that, again, in this journey of like meditating and doing all that, like a lot of my team has gone on the same journey. And we have like this thing on Mondays, we call it Motivational Mondays. And then from like 9 to 10, we play 10 to 10:30, we play like a motivational video or like a ET or Maxwell or whoever. And like, we're just listening to motivational videos. And I have team members that are out of the country as well. And this is like their favorite meeting because it's not all about numbers. You have to drive a culture in your field to make sure that you guys can do this together. Because this is more than just anyone can make money, but not everyone can grow a business. And growing a business with people that believe in your vision, and a vision has no money attached to it because it ain't paying you that much at first. And that's what people don't realize. Like entrepreneurship, yes, is financial freedom in about 7 to 10 years. Until you put in that work, you ain't getting that money.
Say something while you're in there. Hold on. We're going to go back to that, but I want to say this for a second. And I'm going to be really vulnerable when I say this. About a year ago when I made the transition I was doing the agency model, but people don't know I went through a big transition when I decided to do the vlogcast experience, which was the higher level, higher ticket option of working with larger entrepreneurs and businesses to batch record their season and for us to do the planning, blah, blah, blah. When I made the transition, we lost, I just went through some major transitions and I was met with a week where we lost clients. The people that I thought were going to come on didn't come on as fast as I thought they would. And I was met with a day that came that I could not pay my staff. And I knew the money was coming, but the day was there and the money was not coming. And I was a good 10 days away from the money coming. And I was like, oh shit, this was a bad decision. And I remember being so scared to say something to my project manager because I was like, yo, I love my project manager so much. Like I see her as my right hand. And someone that I want to make my COO one day. And I'm like, I'm going to tell this woman this and she's going to run for the fucking hills. And like, it took me days. Like I was like, maybe I'll just wait till she says something. Or maybe I'll wait till she doesn't notice. Like I was so nervous. And then I finally was like, hey, well, we got to talk. And I was like, hey, like poor planning, poor transition. Like here's what happened. And I was like, whatever your response is at this point, I understand. This is my fault. And when she came back to me and said, how do I help? Like, I'm in this in the long haul with you. Like, I know what I signed up for. She was like, when she said, I know what I signed up for, that we are in a startup business that is constantly pivoting and we're always building and you're always making the decision that's best for us. And sometimes that doesn't turn out. I know what I signed up for. I'm here. What do you need? Tell me step 1, step 2, step 3. Tell me your ideas. I'll get on the phone with you right now. What do you need? You don't have to worry about paying me right now. Let's fix this together. And I was like, holy shit, I did something right. Like, I was like.
And you just gave me chills saying that because I feel like no one shares that part of business. And I feel like
could not pay my staff. And
it's like and you're in a different industry than me. Right. And in my industry, it's like all money driven. Money. It's money. I make this, I make that, the Lamborghinis, all that shit that does not matter. And I'm not saying like, okay, great. Like if that's how you flaunt your stuff, that's on you. Right. But I know like the process is real.
It's real.
And anyone who's thinking about
7 to 10 years, y'all hear that?
It's real. No one becomes a success overnight. Nobody. You're just looking at the hard work at the end of it, but you're not looking at anything that happened in between. And that in between is It's like crucial.
Baby, it
And
costs all your money to make
costs
money.
not
Trust
even,
me.
and it doesn't even, forget the hoop.
It's
But it
not
doesn't,
sand.
it's not even the money. I think that no one realizes how much it costs you on your mental health, on yourself, on your kids, on your family. You take a hit, and you're taking that hit every day trying to figure out, how do I do this to make sure that we all survive this at the end? How many people come out of entrepreneurship with happy kids, a husband, and all that? Not a lot of people.
I say this all the time. What we're doing right now, unless we change the way we do it, we think that we're doing something so dope that our kids will be like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Shit. My son's going to look up if I don't change the way that I operate.
Exactly.
And be like, I would never do that.
Exactly.
Because I resent that shit. Because I barely spent time with you because you chose that over me all the time.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't even blink, and neither would you at this point, at the money that I'd be willing to spend and access. So if my margins was this thin, I'm going to use this much of it to pay for my mental health so that I can be a better mother, so that I can be a better boss, so that I can be a better friend, so that I can be a better human being and don't lose my shit for all the stuff that we deal with.
It's true. And I think that this is what is so powerful, because no one talks about this part.
Mm-mm.
And one thing you mentioned is like, you're not the only one that goes through that, even when you couldn't pay your staff. This year alone, you know how much things have changed? We have made the best decisions in business and saw the least amount of money this year, right? As a business owner, it was like, I had to agree to like, yo, I'm cutting even. And there's months that you're negative. And guess what? Those months when your account is negative, not your account, when your business account is negative, because you'll have money there. You're just like, okay, well, it takes $50,000 to run this business, but only 20 came in this month.
Yeah.
Well, you still got to pay the 50.
Now we're working at a deficit.
Now we're working at a deficit, and no one speaks about that. And then I had a similar situation where, you know, my operations manager, my right hand in the business, and I looked at her and I was like, yo, SBA gave us money 2 years ago. It's sitting in that account. Like, we're going to tap in. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, let me know what I got to do.
Yeah.
That's it. And she was like, if we can't pay me or whatever, just let me know what I have to do. And at that point, I was like, this is why we do it for, because this is, your purpose has to be bigger than money. If you're only here for the money, it's not going to work, because now you have people who are looking up to you.
And them numbers won't hit.
Yes.
And you'll be like, okay, now what?
And you know what? There's going to be days.
Because if you allow that to be your measuring stick for success, you be crying on the floor every damn day.
Exactly. And then to me, that was so powerful, because I'm like, wow, like, you still believe in this business, even though we've been at it for 4 years. She's like, sis, like, it's okay. Like, we're going to make it through this. Like, we're hitting 4 years, and like, we've been at it doing this. And like, yeah, we have powerful months and we have low months. And it's just like that roller coaster. Like, not a lot of people want to ride that shit.
No.
Some people just want to ride a cab and just go straight.
Bitch, I'm sick. I'm tired of riding peaks and valleys.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo.
Throw up. Like,
and then that roller coaster does not end. And it's like, it doesn't. And it's just like, you still want to ride this roller coaster, even though like we're in this place and then this, and it's just a reality of business. It's not just the real estate industry.
No.
And men, especially men, and I will say men, they don't talk about this stuff because it's all ego driven. You know why? Because I used to feel uncomfortable talking about this. The first time I became comfortable talking about this, when I saw you on stage in Innovative Income, and you broke down your business and cried about how much money and this, and I was like, you can do this? Like, you can talk about shit like this? Like, imagine suffering every single night. Like, oh my God, the business is failing, when everyone else is going through the same shit, but no one can talk about it because you're in a room full of men who it's all like, my business is doing good. My business is doing good. Ego, ego, ego. Rather than like, this is the truth. The truth will get you further. And
why? I get it, because successful business is rated and measured on revenue. I understand that. You have to. The numbers have to make sense. We are all in a results-driven business. That's how you maintain, that's how you survive, and that's eventually how you scale and grow, make those margins and take those margins and create something even better. I get that, but why do we feel the need to be dishonest? Why do we only talk about the truth? I talked about that in Innovative Income last year, because I was like, how did I work that freaking hard and barely make $250,000? Like, and that sounds like a lot to somebody, but I was looking at those numbers and I was like, bitch, I was working sun up to sundown. This shit ain't making sense. And I had 9 staff and I was paying all those people and it was costing me this much each month. And then for June of this year to sit down with my CPA and him to be like, here's what you did in 6 months. And the scariest thing, literally, this was me, shit dropped into my stomach, was when he was like, you did pretty good. And I looked at the number, and the first thing that went off in my head was I looked at the number and I times it by 2. You're giving me a 6-month number. I'm projecting it another 6 months. And if I do what I did in this 6 months, I'll do it in another. If nothing changes, and I look at that number, and immediately my mind was like, so I'm on projection to only make $40,000 more this year than I did last year? Oh, hell fuck no. Because I was like, no, because I know my expenses have increased by at least that.
Yeah.
So now I just did the same thing this year that I did last year. I worked probably twice as hard, expended the same amount of energy for the same amount of money.
Yeah. And that's literally the reality
So
of
now
business.
nothing changes. So make it make sense. And then why are we not talking about that? Because guess what gets compromised in the process? Our sanity, our femininity,
Our family,
our
partners,
friendships,
friendships,
our kids, our ability to love, our ability to connect with people. Because I don't have time to connect with you. I'm trying to change these numbers.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's the part where I say, like, well, before I go into that point, just to touch on one thing that you did say that was so important, is like when you're going through this transition, insanity is doing the same thing every single day and expecting a different result. That's what we're doing every day in entrepreneurship. We're doing entrepreneurship. And for those that think like, I'm going to go into entrepreneurship and I get to dictate my schedule and I get to do this. Well, welcome to the real world. That's not how it works. You need a schedule. You do the same shit every single day for the same amount of hours and try to get the same amount of clients and do everything the same day for basically no pay at first. Then you're probably making a decent amount to pay your bills. And sometimes you can't pay your bills and you're just like, shit, we'll figure it out. Let's juggle money from all the accounts.
Yep.
And something's going to give.
Yes.
Something's going to pay.
Yes.
Everybody's going to get paid except me.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
And ramen noodles comes through and it is what it is. Like, it's like
Domino's pizza.
Yeah,
Yep.
Domino's, and we're all eating the 2 for $5s and
Yep.
shit like that. But it is what it is. It's the sacrifices that no one sees you have to make in order to live this lifestyle. Everyone thinks that it's just like, I want to be an entrepreneur. It's great to put it on your Instagram profile.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to say and shout it and put it on your t-shirt.
Yeah.
The reality is you have to live this shit for real.
Yeah.
And the real one, it's muddy. You're going to be out of this shit dirty, crying, hurt.
Yeah.
A lot of people will be hurt around you, but at the
Feelings
end
be
of the
hurt
day,
all the damn time.
yeah. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you have to do for you and what's best for you. But in that process, I think what we're doing differently now and what you're teaching a lot of us, because we were part of your program. And besides just the community of women, it's like, we don't have to do it that way. It doesn't have to be ugly at the end of the road. There can be not balance, but sanity. It can be like, okay, in order for you to figure that out, stop going harder. Just go meditate. Just go. I mean, for the smokers, go smoke and meditate.
Do something.
Do something besides trying to sit there and work.
Yes.
And a lot of men and masculine, not even men, but just masculine energies, we're just like, well, in order to figure this out, I have to work even harder.
Yeah.
I have to drive myself to the ground. If I'm not sitting
I've
in
got
this
to
chair,
hustle through this.
yeah, I can't. It's not going to work. No, you have to maybe create your way through that.
Yeah.
And that's just being in
Create your way through that. I want to point that out because I remember years ago I was working, I would always hire male high performance coaches. And I remember I was trying something and we redid it, tried it and redid it and tried it. And he, at one point he said, you've got to learn the art of set it and forget it. I said, what are you talking about? He was like, put the website up, let the world know, and then turn your phone off. And I was like, why? Like, that makes no sense. Shouldn't I be like, in my mind, I'm like guerrilla marketing. I'm like, shouldn't I be yelling this at the top of my lungs and telling everyone and be on podcasts and da-da? He was like, right. But you've already put all those seeds out there. So just set it and forget it and shut up. And I was like, that sounds dangerous. Like,
yeah.
And he was like, no. And I was like, okay. And he's like, do it, go away, and the money will come. I was like, that sounds chaotic. And I would do it and I would practice it and I would do it. And I did it for years and I never understood it. And now I get it. It is not set it and forget it and the money will come. It's set it and forget it and allow yourself to go to the space that allows you the creative process to problem solve. But problem solve in a way that not, because when you set it and forget it, you immediately go to the doubt, the fear, the what if this doesn't work, the problem solver, the assertiveness, the independence, the fix it, prove it, do it, figure it out. Versus set it and forget it. And he would literally be like, go take yourself to dinner. Set it, forget it, take yourself to dinner. Like, set it, forget it, go spend some money, go to the mall or something. I'm like, I can't spend any money. I'm trying to make money. And he was like, no, set it and forget it. And then go put yourself in a state of flow somewhere. And when I would get in that flow, I'd be walking through the mall or I'd be sitting at dinner and I'd be like, this would be me. I'd be there. I'm like, oh my God, I overthought that. Why did I overthink that? Why did I put that copy that way? Why did I tell that story that way? Why did I market that? I went way too hard with that. Had I just thought about it in this way, oh, I can come at this in a much different way. Oh, I can try this differently tomorrow. Oh, I can be a lot softer. And these simple tweaks, then I'd get exactly where I was trying to go without forcing it. And then I was like, oh, set it and forget it and then flow.
And I think it's important to understand, like, the force is control the controllable.
Control the controllable.
You cannot control everything. So sometimes you have to let go and let it do its thing by itself.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other important things that we were talking about is just like numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers, proximity being power, all that ties into each other. Because, like, for example, the light bulb. When Tom Edison created the light bulb, and I always remember this when I'm stressing numbers, I'm like, it took him 1,001 times to even get that shit to work. So what makes us think that it took him 1,001 times? That's not counting days. That's just saying how many times it took him. We don't know how many years, how many days, how many hours and seconds.
Wow.
That is a long time if you're measuring something.
Yes.
1,001 times. I know it's over 1,000 and maybe 1,002 times, whatever, but it's over 1,000 times to get a light bulb to work.
And now we live off this product.
And now as entrepreneurs, we come in and we're like, well, the number's not hitting and this is not working. And it's like, yeah, well, you're like, what, a year in?
Yeah.
2, 4?
Yeah.
That's shit. That is literally shit. Like, that's nothing. You have to put in that work.
You're literally a toddler.
But you know what? You are. But then that's when the proximity becomes power.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a good foundation around you or just that energy that you need to keep moving forward, and sometimes you won't have that. The reality is sometimes you don't have that. You have to create it. And if you don't create that proximity for yourself to get to that point, and that's where culture comes in. Mm-hmm. That's when partnership comes in and communication. Mm-hmm. And even with your kids, like, what, are you going to raise workers? Or are you going to be like, listen, entrepreneurship, this is what it is. Whatever you want to do, even if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, that's on you. That's fine. You want to be a worker, that's great. But we're going to have good energy here so that all we support each other in whatever it is that we're doing. If you don't create that culture within your house, within your business, within your family, and sometimes you can't create that within your family. You just have to separate yourself. Because it's like, I can't bend my energy for you.
Yeah.
If you can't give me what I need, it's okay. I just got to stay away. But if you can't create that environment, then that's where the proximity becomes power. You become your environment.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think that people forget in this journey. It's like the most important thing besides money, the books, everything else is just like the people you surround yourself with.
I don't care how alpha you are. People need people.
Yeah.
People need people.
They do.
Okay. So we could talk about this all day. So the creator in me is going to call out the creator in you. So can you tell everyone, I'm going to make you say it on this damn show, is tell them what you are creating for women like you, for women like me. Because I feel like you're the next level to me and I want to learn this from you, is finding the balance, talking with women like this, helping us own these parts of us, refine these parts of us, embrace these parts of us, and use them good, bad, and indifferent, and figure out how to use them as tools and not allowing society to call them out as weaknesses. Is you are creating your own show.
Yes.
Tell me what it's called. Tell me why.
So I know me and you've been working on it a little bit, and we were going around with names and stuff like that. And I couldn't come up with a name until I was in my flow.
Yes.
A very random place. I was at the gym on the Stairmaster doing a challenge.
Real flow of you.
No,
Ash.
But in that challenge, you know what? I honestly, just a very side note, usually I'm in the gym listening to a book, trying to figure something out in the business. I was actually watching Netflix, and it was becoming very like fun. I was like, oh, I get to go to the gym and watch Netflix for 45 minutes. And
I get to chill.
Yeah, I get to chill. And I was literally going every day and watching a show. And in that show, I was just in my zone. And I'm like, I feel happy right now because I'm not working. I'm just watching TV at the gym. And this is weird of me.
Yeah.
It just came to me. And I was like, I want to help women in general. And like, I knew I wanted to help women, especially women that obviously deal with the things we deal with as being labeled mavericks and alphas. Yes. And so the name is Beyond Your Alpha. But it's mainly, like I said, it's for women because it's like we don't need a label. I'm beyond an alpha female or a maverick or like walking into a room. And yes, there's struggles that come with being that, but there's struggles that come with being a woman in general.
Period.
No matter if you are an alpha or conservative or just loud or quiet or whatever it is, there's just so much struggles that come with you being a woman entering a room and a table full of men.
Yes.
And that's where it's intimidating for the quiet ones. And it's intimidating for mavericks, just like us. It's intimidating for anybody because it's like, do we have a seat here?
Yeah.
You create your own.
Yeah.
Right? You walk in, you create your own, and you do your own thing. And there's power in that. And that's what me and you are doing in our own lanes.
Yeah.
We're just figuring out how to do it in a healthier way.
In a healthier way. In a healthier way. That's all I want is in a healthier way. I want to show up and be my damn self.
Same.
And I don't want to feel like I'm being too much. And I don't want to feel like I'm not enough.
Mhm.
I want to feel like I am me. And whatever that may look like, it works.
Mhm.
It works. I don't want to be less of. I don't want to be more of. I want to be me. And I think that's what you're doing with this. So I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. Thank you for showing up. Let my audience know where they can learn more about you, find out more about you, because you don't show up a lot, but we're going to change that. So
I don't.
where can they follow you? Where can they learn more about you? And where can they connect?
On my Instagram, it's __ dose of Ashley, I think it is.
This
It's
is stressing her out.
_.
She's never shared her Instagram before.
Yeah, I was like, I've never done this. But yes, __ dose of Ashley.
Yep.
Yes. And Facebook is just Ashley Molina.
Perfect. All right. Any last words? Anything?
No, if anybody, well, I do actually want to say something to anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur. Just know that it's hard, but it's doable. It's hard. It's hard. And just never go in there thinking it's going to happen overnight. If you want to do this, just be ready for the battles, and we battle. You have to choose your battle. Are you going to battle life and just want to work a 9 to 5? That's great. Then choose that battle.
Yep.
But if you're choosing the battle of entrepreneurship, then just battle.
Yeah.
Because it's a war.
Choose your struggle.
Yeah, choose your struggle. You're going to go to war every single day.
Every day.
Every day you're going to battle your mental health. You're going to battle your family. You're going to battle society. You're going to battle yourself. And just be ready for that for years.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yes.
And that's it.
Shout out to you. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you came. Thank you for this.
Thank you.